Welcome to the 30-Minute Hour. It's the personal development podcast for authors, entrepreneurs, and career professionals who are looking to level up and become unstoppable. I'm your host, Eric Twiggs, your procrastination prevention partner. Joining me as always, you know him as the super CEO, the business strategist extraordinaire, and all-around good guy, Ted Fells.
Happy Monday again.
Yes, Monday is upon us once again.
It just seems like it just goes from like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Like it's got to be something like that because Monday just happens so quickly.
Yeah, our time clock is a little different. We're on a 3-day week. It's always right. Back to Monday again. Yep. We'd like to welcome everyone to the 129th episode of the 30-Minute Hour podcast.
Man, they said that we wouldn't make it.
That's right. We proved the haters wrong, Ted.
You know how they do that in sports all the time. No one believed we could do it. Man, you've been in the Super Bowl 10 straight years. Who didn't believe you could do it? But you got to have that as motivation, right?
Exactly. The whole us against the world type thing.
That's it.
All right. Well, as you can tell, this is not your everyday podcast. That's right. We do things a little different here on this show. We are broadcasting live right now from Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and also on Instagram, on IGTV. Shout out to those of you watching us on IGTV. And also you'll be able to listen to us later on Apple Podcasts and any of those podcasting platforms that you like to listen to. And by the way, don't forget to share the show.
Share the show.
That's right.
Share the show. Daniel, share the show, man. Don't be
stingy. Don't be stingy.
Share the show.
That's right. Don't be stingy. Don't keep a good thing to yourself. Our goal is to help you to laugh, learn, and level up. Hopefully we'll accomplish those things for you today. But again, don't forget to share the show. And I want to talk for a moment about our sponsor of the week.
Daniel, I never know who the sponsor of the week is. So this is new to me. So I'm with you. I'm with you on seeing who the sponsor of the week is. Who's the sponsor of the week, Eric?
Everybody's on the edge of their seats. So the sponsor of the week is the Bernie L. Bates Foundation. They're our sponsor of the week. And they do a lot of great things in the community. They have programs to help provide scholarships to would-be college students, and they provide assistance to those who are in need from the community. And they are actually, I'm hosting a webinar on behalf of the Bernie L. Bates Foundation. Mark your calendars for September the 21st. It's a Tuesday, September 21st at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. It's the Discipline of Now webinar series. We're going to be talking about practical steps that you can take to beat procrastination and boost your productivity. So mark your calendars. We'll be talking about this again over the next few weeks, briefly on the show. But please come out and support. The Bernie L. Bates are doing great things in the community. But don't forget to check us out Tuesday, September 21st, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. It's the Discipline of Now webinar series.
Nice.
All right. And don't forget to check out the What Now movement. Go ahead and go into the What Now movement Facebook group. Today is Marketing Monday. So make sure you leave us your link. This could be the day that somebody clicks on it and it takes your venture to a whole other level. So Ted, we always say that you're only one contact away from that next level.
That's it. One contact away.
That's all it takes. You're only one contact away. That could happen for you today. So make sure you go into the What Now Movement Facebook group and join. Ted.
Yes, sir.
I got something that's on my mind.
Please share, Eric.
All right. So today, I want to talk to you about the secret your financial advisor won't tell you. That's right. the secret your financial advisor won't tell you. There's this Harvard University psychologist. Her name is Amy Cuddy, and she cites this study that was done with 185 venture capitalists who spent their days listening to sales pitches from entrepreneurs who are looking to obtain capital for their companies. So these angel investors, they would decide which businesses to invest based on what they heard from the business owners who were seeking capital. So the goal of the owner was to sell the capitalists on why they should invest in their venture. So during this study, the investors were asked what clues they look for when they decided who they would invest with and who they reject. So there was one main clue that the investors looked for when they were making that decision. There's one main clue. And again, if I tell you the clue, this is the part of the program we need your undivided attention. I know you may be driving right now. This is that time we need you just to pull over to the side of the road. Many of you listen to us from your treadmill. This is the part where you need to push pause on the treadmill. Ted, anything else that people need to do?
Daniel, put the ham sandwich down, man. If you got a ham sandwich, no matter how good it is, got to put it down. Listen up.
I'm more of a breakfast burrito kind of guy, but I get your drift.
Put down the breakfast burrito, Daniel.
Put it down.
But it may be some ham in that burrito.
So put the ham sandwich down. So the question on the floor is, what's the number one clue that the angel investors look for when they were making that investment decision on who they will provide capital to? Here it is. If the sellers believe their own story. That was the number one clue on how they decided who they would invest with. If the seller believed their own story, and that's the secret your financial advisor won't tell you. If you're ever trying to get, money from an angel investor, that's something to consider. So they pay close attention to eye contact, passion, confidence, and body language. And based on this observation, they could tell if something was just a little bit off. And so one of the investors, they made the statement that if they don't buy what they're selling, I don't buy what they're selling. That's something to keep in mind. I thought that I would bring that up because one of the services our guest today provides is helping entrepreneurs to obtain capital for their companies. I thought this would be a good segue into that. We'll go ahead and bring him on right about now. So he is an author, Forbes contributor, podcast host, and owner of Quest Education. His mission is to help people take control over their finances and change their lives for the better. So under Daniel's leadership, Quest Education has reached the 7-figure mark 2 years in a row with 1,000 customers throughout the United States.
Wow.
He is somebody.
Absolutely.
His story has a unique twist in the sense that he had a daughter when he was 19 years of age and overcame an addiction to Oxycontin at age 20. And these two life-changing moments helped shape him into the man that he is today. So please welcome to the 30 Minute Hour podcast, Daniel Blue.
Man, I don't think I've had an introduction like that, Eric and Ted. So I appreciate that, man. That means a lot, especially all the crowd noise in the background.
That's
man.
right,
right.
That's right, man.
That's right. Podcast. I mean, what are the shows that have a crowd like that? I mean, yeah.
Welcome.
Different. No, Daniel, welcome to the show. It's truly an honor to have you here. Let's get right at it. Let's roll back the clock. Now, you had a daughter at age 19. You overcame this addiction at age 20. How did these experiences shape you into who you became?
Yeah, I never would have thought. Interesting. Someone posted on Facebook the other day, said something along the lines of, I'm a lot farther than I ever thought I'd be in life, but I'm nowhere near where I'm meant to be. And I think a lot of us can relate to that, right? Like we have adversity. We grew up, we have a sad story, maybe divorce in the home or just some kind of challenge you faced in your childhood. and you make it a lot further than you thought. However, you're competing, you can get a lot further along, right? And that's where I'm at. I had no idea I would be a best-selling author. I'd have a team. I'd have a company with 13 employees, customers in all 50 states, and really changing people's lives, whether it's my employees or my customers. So it's surreal. However, I got a lot left in the tank, and there's a lot more to my potential. So just going back, there's a quote that I learned that I love hearing is adversity is our gift. And that's really true, because every one of your challenges, every one of your adversities that you face, especially when you're younger, you have the ability to turn that into something positive, or it's going to be something that holds you back. It's going to be something where you are going to remain a victim, and you're not going to be able to, like you said, Eric, level up, because you're just going to keep using what happened before as an excuse. And that was for me, man. I had no idea that I'd get addicted to Oxycontin at 18 years old was a big year for me. I got addicted to drugs at that time. I had a kid. Actually got my daughter's mother pregnant at 18, and then I dropped out of college. But to say that being 18 years old and going through those things, was definitely an understatement. However, over the years, I failed a lot, and I learned from a lot of those mistakes I made in my early years. And a lot of those were lessons that I was able to ultimately leverage to get where I am today.
And you said something, adversity is your gift.
That's serious.
Yeah,
that's deep. That's heavy.
That is heavy. So like, at what point during your journey did you realize that, hey, you know what? I'm going to use this I'm going to rechannel this to make this something positive. Oh, I mean, was it right away, or was it like years later?
Let's go back. When you look at your childhood, like, that's where everything is shaped, right? That's when you're morphed, and that's who you become eventually, and if you have a kind of a messed up, 20s, probably because of when you were younger, right? So for me, it was when I had my daughter. I was not there when she was born, because I was still using drugs. It wasn't until she was 6 months old that I actually had a face-to-face conversation with my demons, with myself, and I actually took ownership. Prior to that, I was just constantly deflecting. I was just taking, the easy path, the comfort path. And that was really hard for me to accept, that I wasn't there when my daughter was born. We, as parents, we live for that moment to cut the umbilical cord and, be there when the baby comes out and take the baby home. And I miss that. And that's something I have to live with. However, I just knew at that point in time, when my daughter was 6 months old and I had that face-to-face honest conversation with myself, I just knew she wasn't going to be 6 months old forever. There was going to be a time she was going to be 5 years old, 10 years old, 15 years old. And what kind of example are we going to set to our kids? Our kids, they act like they don't listen. She's 12, right? And she's a smart ass these days. She acts like she don't listen. But I know she's listening. I know she's watching, and so are your kids. And, you keep telling your kids to do better in school and take ownership and, anything you believe you can achieve, and all of those, one-liners, but are you living it? Actions speak louder than words. So definitely my daughter Bella is someone that helped morph me into, a different kind of person along the way.
Wow.
And if you could time travel back to that point in your life and give yourself advice, like, what advice would you give to your younger self, knowing what you know now?
Embrace the failures, and then assess what went wrong, and just take ownership, right? It's really easy to just take that convenient path of just deflecting and pointing the finger. Like, we all know somebody that something bad always happens to them. It's just always drama. It's negative after negative. Could be a family member, could be a close friend. There's just always drama. There's always something going wrong, right? They ran out of gas in their car. They got stranded somewhere, or, just something happened. And those people don't take responsibility. It's always someone else's fault. And, for me in business, I'm a college dropout. I didn't come from family. And, being a business owner today, like, I have to take responsibility for everything, all the bad stuff too. And it's convenient to not take responsibility in that area, but you don't have to be a business owner to have that kind of mentality. So I would tell my younger self to, embrace failure. Failure is failure. It's bound to happen, but I'd rather fail and try to do it versus, sit on the sidelines and never jump in the game.
I think that's a great point. I just think that whole accountability and ownership thing is hard for so many people. I think if you do that, I think that could be a game changer. If you really just, if you look at these situations, you ask yourself, okay, what can I do better?
Yeah.
What can I learn from this?
Yeah, I mean, because the alternative is you don't take responsibility and it's always on someone else, but then that means you aren't in control, right? And that's not a good feeling, a good place to be in where you don't have control. So I'd rather just own up to everything and take responsibility for everything. So at least I can be in a position where I can call my own play, I can call my own shot, and if I miss it, I miss it. As long as I wake up in the morning and I open up my two eyes and I put my 2 feet down on my after getting out of bed, like I still have another day. God gave me another day, and as long as I still have another day, I have another day to make a difference in my family's life, my friends' life, my employees' life. So do you.
I think a lot of times, people, when it comes to failure, they're hard on themselves in thinking that others are like looking at them, right? Like they're more concerned about, what others are thinking, and I've had a situation like that where someone said that to me one time about, being concerned about, a failure because of what others may think. And, and you'd be surprised. A lot of people just have, they're kind of inspired by the fact that you even have done what you've done. So you think that you know what they're thinking, but they may see you totally different than you see yourself. But at the end of the day, it's definitely, I hear the term "fail forward." I've heard people use that, and I think that's a great phrase in those situations. You just keep moving forward, regardless. Don't just stay stuck in that place.
Yeah, after you fail enough times, you finally get to a point where you just realize, like for me personally, I'm not going to hear anyone out or listen to anyone. I'm obviously open-minded. I don't have it all figured out. I'm still learning every single day. But if you want to see me win and you love me and you care about me, I'm all ears, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you're a lot farther along than me, I'm all ears, right? Because you have something I don't have. So I need to be a student, right? I need to be a student of the game. But so many times we get critiqued and we get, people to come in and just chirp when they're on the sidelines. Like they're just projecting their insecurities on you. They're seeing you do something that they are jealous of, or they're unhappy with their relationship. They're unhappy with their boyfriend. Their business isn't doing well. They hate their job. So then they see you doing something cool, something great. They're just going to hate on you, right? So I think it's important to just realize that you're going to get noise. You're going to get people chirping at you. So consider where is it coming from? Do they really want to see you win? If they do, then they might have some good insight for you to listen to. I'm constantly getting, advice and critique from different people that I know have, the same thing that I want, which is we want to win. And then there's obviously people I look up to that are a lot further along personally, financially, business wise, that, I'm just going to shut up and listen.
So it's interesting. So one of our followers, and actually she's a previous guest on the 30-Minute Hour podcast, Dawn Marie Bornheimer. She says, other people's opinion of you is none of your business. Focus on living from the inside out and show up to be better than yesterday.
Shout out. That's a great one right there. I love it.
For sure. No, I just think that we're spending some time on this. I just think it's critical. We're looking to level up. I think your mindset and how you deal with these types of issues is just so important to get to that next place. So curious, Daniel, like how did you choose the mission of helping people take control of their finances? How did you choose that to be your specific area of focus?
Yeah, so for me, we all have a teacher in our lives that we always remember, right? For me, it was fourth grade. Her name was Ms. Gathright. She gave us an assignment one day to follow a stock, and that was her way of actually teaching us what a stock was and how it went up and down, right? And this was 25 years ago, 20 years ago, and this is when the newspapers were so prevalent. So we would get the newspaper delivered every day, and we'd pull up the business section, and I chose Nike, and got to follow Nike for a month. And that's when my eyes were open in fourth grade to the world of the financial game. And then just growing up, we didn't have a ton of money. There wasn't a whole lot of money in the household, especially after I was 12 when my parents got divorced. So I always had the attitude of, man, like I don't want to see struggle. Like I want to be able to be financially independent. I don't know how that's going to happen, but I know money is a vehicle to have a lot of things in life. So that was always my mindset growing up. And then I got into the sales game at 18 years old and started doing very well. I started real estate coaching at that time. And because I was around a lot of real estate investors, these real estate investors would bring up, hey, I just used my IRA or 401k to flip a property. I just used my retirement account to buy a rental property. And that intrigued me because I always thought retirement accounts, 401ks and IRAs, were just for mutual funds, for stocks. I had no idea you could use a retirement account to invest into something like real estate. So about 7 years ago, I pivoted and I got into what I'm going to call the self-directed retirement account space. And basically what our company does is we help people access their retirement accounts like a 401k or IRA, penalty and tax-free. And there's some IRS approved ways to do that because a lot of Americans, they're under the assumption that they can't access their own money until they retire. And if they can, they're going to pay a bunch of money in penalties and taxes. And that's not always true. There's a lot of different strategies to be able to access your own money, penalty and tax-free. So a lot of our customers, they'll tap into their retirement accounts to start, their dream business so they can quit their 9-to-5 job. Or maybe they want to use that money to invest into a real estate property. Or maybe they want to pay off high interest rate credit card debt that's, lowering their credit score, that's stressing them out. So, just being able to help people take more control of their finances by having a better understanding of some of the options with their retirement accounts. That's what the mission that we're on, that we're trying to, really empower people.
Yeah, these are some of the money-making secrets that the CPA doesn't talk about. We're going to get more into this here. But also curious, how did Quest Education come about? So you have this thirst or idea to help people with their finances. So how did the actual company come about?
Yeah, so let's go back to when I was younger, 18, 19, 20 years old. I'm making 6 figures in sales. I'd never seen that kind of money before. I think some people could probably relate to this. You think $100,000 is so much money, right? Like that's your goal. You can make $100,000. It's like, mama, I made it, right? And once you start making that kind of money, you realize that it's not a whole lot of money at the end of the day, right? But as an 18, 19-year-old kid, it was a lot of money. And I started spending more than I was making. I was making bad financial decisions at that point. And I didn't understand how credit worked, how taxes work, how budgeting worked, investing worked. So, from my 18 to 22, 23 years old, I grew a lot of money. I bought a house in 2008 at the peak of the market, right before the market crashed. So that was a good lesson there. So basically made a ton of financial mistakes from like 07, 08 to 2010. And then once I learned from touching the stove and burning my hand so many times, I changed my mentality and my discipline and my habits. In my early 20s, I was able to save a lot of money and invest the money and actually have a good credit score and just have a better strategy financially. And I was working as a 9-to-5 employee in my early 20s. And then 3 years ago, I went all in. I had enough money saved. I put a lot of debt on 0% credit cards, and I started Quest Education. And that was 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I didn't have too many gray hairs. You can probably see I got quite a few gray hairs now. And that's the life of business. So I wouldn't have it any other way, though.
Man, ain't nothing wrong with gray hairs, Daniel.
I'm going for the George Clooney look. You said I'm not as attractive, but I need some more gray hairs.
I got something for you, man. Just let me know. I'll send some out there to Vegas.
Love it.
I've made a conscious decision to hide all of mine. So, so you kind of touched on this, but talk about some of the common money mistakes that you see people making.
Living beyond your means is like the number one thing that happens to me, and that we see so many of our friends and family members and other people. Like what's that saying? You're trying to keep up with the Joneses. And ultimately, if you can find a place where you're living below your means, and the money that you're saving, you're able to invest and have that money grow. There's power in that. As much as you want to keep up with your friends and people you see on social media, you don't know behind the scenes. You know, that person that you see on Instagram that's in Hawaii right now, do you know their credit score? Do you know how much money they owe in debt? Do you know their financial situation? Right. So again, it just comes down to staying in your lane and having a goal of what you want. Me personally, I'm 32 years old. I'm playing the long game. I've only been in business for 3 years. So I know if I can invest in my business, my team, my employees, my systems, my processes, I'm okay. Like Gary Vee likes to say, I'm okay eating shit for a few years because I'm playing the long game, right? I'm 32 years old. You know, when I'm 38, when I'm 40, when I'm 45, I know I'm going to have a different kind of lifestyle. However, you just have to know what you want, and you just have to be willing to invest and sacrifice certain things.
Ooh, Eric, that whole dinner thing we talked about and going to visit Daniel in Vegas, that's off. That's off, man. Because we're now.
Oh man. So we're talking about the money making secrets that your CPA won't tell you. Let's really build on that. What are some simple steps, kind of following your methodology, Daniel? What are some steps that people can take to gain this control over their finances?
Well, I think number one, a lot of people just need to understand that there's two different menus of retirement accounts. And, you know, Ted was saying that we're going to go out to dinner and Eric's going to give us the whole menu when we go to dinner, and we're going to get surf and turf and everything like that. So let's just play on that analogy, right?
Let's not play on that. But
I think that's a great analogy to play on. Absolutely. That's
most
perfect.
people are just familiar with the front of the menu. So if you have an IRA or 401k with Fidelity, Vanguard, Charles Schwab, any Wall Street-based company, you're just familiar with the front of that menu: stocks, bonds, mutual funds, right? Just Wall Street-based assets. However, there's another menu. You can flip that menu over, and there's crypto, there's precious metals, there's real estate, there's investing in your own business. There's just so many more ways to have your money work for you beyond what you're presented by your financial advisor. And that's because of the way the game is set up. Ultimately, you have to follow the money. You know, Wall Street and these big financial advisors, they make money based off of assets under management. The more money that they have control over, the more fees that they're going to generate. So why would they want to teach you a strategy that's going to allow you to take out $20,000, let's just say, penalty and tax free, and start that e-commerce business, right? Or use that money to buy a property and flip it, right? That doesn't make them money. So it just comes down to your goals and, again, where you're trying to go. You know, one of our customers, she used to run a hair salon for a number of years. She was sick and tired of it. She wanted to quit her job. She just needed a business to replace her income. And she needed about $20,000, $30,000 to get that online business up and going. She didn't want to go into debt with the bank. She had money set aside in a retirement account, and we were able to help her access that $20,000, $30,000 penalty and tax free. And she pulled it out, used that money to start her online business. And then there was a way for her to repay back her retirement account and not rob from her future. And then her business making enough money where she quit her job. She's not working at the hair salon anymore. And she was able to leverage her retirement account. So if you're an entrepreneur with no W-2 employees, and you don't have a W-2 employee other than you or a spouse, and you've got some kind of side hustle, some kind of entrepreneur activity going on, the one takeaway from this podcast here would be a solo 401k. I'd write that down. I'd remember that if I were you. A solo 401k, IRS approved retirement plan that's just for you. If what I described fits the bill. And this retirement account gives you a lot of control with your money. Again, you can invest it in your own business. You can invest it into precious metals, crypto, real estate, private businesses. Again, you get the front of the menu and you get to flip it over and you get this whole other menu that no one's talked to you about before.
So that's called a solo 401k. Excellent. And that's an inspirational story. So describe your typical client. Like
between 30 and 60 years old that comes from corporate, that maybe had a 401k from an old job or an IRA. And the idea of accessing that money penalty and tax free gets a light bulb moment going. They're like, wait, what? I didn't know I could access my money penalty and tax free. Like, is that even legitimate? So someone that fits, that type of category, and there's a need for them to want to use that money in a different way. Maybe they're not a big fan of the stock market and the idea of using that money to, invest in their business or pay off credit card debt. I can't tell you, Eric and Ted, how many people we talk to that are paying 20% interest on credit card debt to Discover, and then their retirement account is making them 6% a year. If you're paying 20% to the banks and making 6%, you're losing money faster than you're making money. So if you could access some of that money that's making you 6%, and you can access it penalty and tax free, and you can use that money to pay off debt that's costing you 20%, the numbers are going to work out better in your favor. So again, it just comes down to, your financial goals. I'm going to give a disclaimer here. I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not here to give financial advice. I'm just here to pull back the curtain and provide information that you can Google on your own. This is all IRS approved information. It's just, again, this type of information is not exposed for some of the reasons I brought up earlier. And that's what I love about our business model. We're not here to sell investments or shove insurance or stocks or real estate down people's throats. We're here to sell solutions, and people that come to us, they have different problems, and we try to navigate and figure out what kind of solutions we can present. So then, that person can take a step back, assess their situation, and make an educated decision where they can be in control, right? They can be captain of their own ship and not just rely on Wall Street.
So how did you educate yourself on this? Because this is a unique business model, focusing specifically on using your 401k. And how did you acquire this knowledge?
I've been in the game for a number of years, right? I got first exposed to self-directed retirement accounts when I was 21, 22. So that concept was introduced to me. I'm 32 years old now, about 10 years ago. And then 7 years now, I've been in the trenches, actually either working for a company or owning my own business where, we're immersed in this, right? We have attorneys, we have a great team out of the 13 employees I have, buying experience. We've got decades of experience in the, self-directed retirement account space. So it's just coming together and providing, again, everything that we're providing isn't proprietary. It's not like, it's not something that you can Google and verify on your own. So basically, it's just taking the time to take public information, bringing it to surface, and then making it easy for people to understand. So like the book I wrote, Blueprint to Your Best Retirement, this is a shameless plug, but it got bestseller in 5 categories. And I wrote it was simple, it's 100 pages. And I wanted to dumb it down. I didn't want it to be super complicated where you're going to read the book and fall asleep, or you're going to read the book and be like, damn, I got to read that page again. I didn't understand anything he just said. I just wanted to use analogies and phrases to make it nice and easy for people to understand, because we have a problem in today's society. We're not learning what we need to learn in school. My daughter, self included, they're teaching this stuff in school that we're never going to use in our life. Why can't they teach credit score? Why can't they teach, what an LLC is? Why can't they teach mental health, sales, right? We could probably do a podcast on that and just have a rant, but the book I wrote, essentially someone in middle school or high school can read and get a lot of value. And I wanted to make it just super easy to understand and digest for people to get value.
Great. Glad you brought that up. The book is titled Blueprint to Your Best Retirement. How can people get that? I know they're listening to you. They're like, man, I need to read that book.
Yeah, the best place is danielblue.me. That's my website. It's got links to the book, link to my course, link to my podcast, link to my articles that I wrote on Forbes, link to my company, Quest Education. So, if they want to talk to my team and get, a consultation, they could do that. But, danielblue.me is a hub where there's a lot of information for you to absorb, and then kind of take it from there, whatever kind of floats your boat.
Great. And then you mentioned the podcast. So you're also the host of the How Winners Win podcast. I Let's
That's,
start.
man.
If I'm looking for a podcast, I want to
that's
listen
the
to how
one.
winners win.
I mean, after I go check out the 30-minute
Right.
hour, then I'm definitely gonna check out how winners win. That is,
That's a great name.
absolutely.
I appreciate that and I love your guys' chemistry and I'm biased towards that because I have a co-host. Shout out to my co-host Keith Spears. But isn't a co-host isn't it fun? It's like you're really just like in the garage or at the bar hanging out with your boy. And then you bring a guest on it's just fun when you have a co-host, right?
Yeah. Well, the good thing about a co-host though is somebody always got something to say.
Yeah.
So if you just freeze up, you better hope your co-host can just step in with something. Right.
Yeah.
So that's where it is. You're not on the island by yourself.
Right. Yeah, man. Shout out to people that actually do a podcast on their own. I have a lot of respect for that. We want to bring a different flavor, so I can speak about experience owning a business and dealing with culture and operations and hiring and firing and, just all the day-to-day business, challenges that we all face. And then Keith is my co-host. He's been a high-performing employee of mine for a number of years. He's a stud. He has different insights to bring. And we just wanted to bring ways to help people win in their life, personally, financially, entrepreneurship, and we're big sports nuts. I think there's a lot of parallels between sports and business and just life in general, right? Like we play to win and we deal with losses. So how do you deal with losses? How do you overcome losses? How do you overcome adversity? And ultimately, can you put yourself in a position to win? So that's what we were looking to help people with our podcast, How Winners Win.
Awesome. And how many episodes do you guys have?
We're at, I want to say 33 that we've produced, and it's fun. We like to do it in-house. We got a studio here, and shout out to Roland. Roland's our production manager. So we've got all the cameras, and that's a lot of fun. We like to bring our guests in-house and have a lot of fun there. And it's been fun. I'm trying to get like you guys, trying to hit the triple digits. Kudos to you guys for doing that. A lot of people like to start something and don't finish it, right? So how many podcasts are out there that started but didn't finish? So I love the fact that it's process.
Yeah, thank you very much. Continued success to you as well. Yeah,
absolutely. So we are at the part of the program where we go around the horn, and this is by the way, Daniel, this is Ted's favorite part of the show. So this is where
are we there already, man? This sure just flew by. You must got some. It must be a real good dinner or something tonight, because it's not even close to 8 o'clock yet. We started early.
No, we started on time.
You guys just brought the heat.
Man, it's time already to go.
It's not time to go. We got to go around the horn. We
all right, we'll go around the horn then. All right, I'm gonna have to say something for about 15 minutes so we can push it to 8.
So Daniel, we'll start with you. Like, what is that closing thought that you would like to leave people with, based on the flow of our show, to help them to become unstoppable?
I'll just have something relevant that I actually just posted on my Instagram here today. It's basically just talking to people that have experienced something that I struggle with, just being vulnerable. I'm naturally a people pleaser, so I do try to surround myself with certain people in my organization to kind of help protect that, right? Because I got a soft spot for a lot of people, and I just like to. It's easy to say yes to people, right? And and what I said in my post is, if you say yes to everything, you're saying no to other things, right? Like if you're saying yes to certain things, there's a cause and effect, right? There's no zero-sum game. So if you're saying yes to something, then you're putting something else on the back burner, and time is money. And if you're saying yes, but then putting other things on the back burner, like what are you putting on the back burner? And you have to protect your time. A lot of times, if you're listening to this and you're not seeing results, you're running around in circles, you're feeling burnt out, ask yourself, how much are you saying yes to everything? Right? Like it's really easy. I'll use the analogy. When I first got into business, it was really easy to want to sell everybody. Like you just want to be able to get revenue coming in. Like everybody's a client, So, and eventually you're gonna get to the point where you're like, okay, the profit margin's not there, or our staff is having to expend way too many resources. Like it just doesn't make sense. So you can't say yes to everybody. You can't say yes to everything that comes your way. That doesn't mean don't, pass up on opportunities and say no, but, just be mindful of what you're saying yes to. And ultimately you have to be aware of that because, you can be a people pleaser. And I know when I say yes to way too many things, I'm not getting a lot of stuff done because I'm focused on everything. And if I'm focused on everything, everything's a priority. Very little is a priority. I'm not focused on a whole lot.
No, I think that's critical. Thank you for sharing that, because as you start to level up, you start to get more opportunities, right? You start to become more noticeable, and people want to ask you to do things. But I think the key is what you just said, Daniel. Not every opportunity is the right fit, and so I think that's a critical thing. I think you get to this place where you're starting out, you're trying to get to this point, and you get to a certain point, then doors start opening for you. But I think it's very important that you take Daniel's advice and really be careful what you say yes to. I know some of the high performers I've been around, they make no their default until they get more information.
Yeah, that's clutch, right? Like I'm kind of right in the middle. Like I think we all start off with yes as our default, especially when you first get into entrepreneurship. Like
right.
Everything looks amazing. Like, oh, okay, we can get this, or we can get that, or we can spend money here. Like yes, right? You're just winging it. I'd love to get to the point where no is my default, because then I could, just be a better decision maker. I'm working my way there, right? And again, you just got to have self accountability, self awareness, and just being real and honest.
But no, great advice. Thank you for sharing that. All right, Ted.
So I guess my point today is stay in the game, right? Like no matter where you are, just stay in the game. Like you said, Daniel, you were dealing with some adversity, at a young age, and you stayed in the game, right? Whether it's personal, whether it's in business. Right. If you're an entrepreneur at some point, right, there's going to be those days that you're going to feel like, oh man, this is the worst thing ever. But I truly believe if you just, you stay in the game, at some point, you talked about, Daniel, you talk about sports, right? I always tie everything to kind of sports as well. It's either sports or food. Right. It's one of those two. I know people on my team, they're so tired of me talking about sports or food. Right. But it's like, I just think if you can just stay in the game, right, and then you just know at some point you're going to make a play, right? That's all it is. And all it takes is one play. Like you look at sports, right, and you'll watch a game and this team will be killing this team, and then someone will fumble the ball, and at that point, right, the game just changes. Like all of a sudden, like everybody was dropping balls and catching balls, making tackles. Like it just seems like the game is fixed after that. Like once you make a play, and I've seen that in business, right? Like your back is up against the wall, things are not going well. You just keep going, stay in the game. And at some point you get that break and then it seems like things change, right? So the thing is, are you built for that? Like, are you built to be able to wait for, the game to change? And are you willing to make that play, or are you going to, you're going to quit? Like once your back is up against the wall. And I just think that any entrepreneur, no matter how successful they are, there was that time when their back was up against the wall, and and something triggered the change. It could be a relationship, it could be a key win, just something just triggered that win, and you just stay in the game.
Amen.
Absolutely, stay in the game. You just never know how close you are.
Yeah,
to that thing.
Yeah, give yourself a shot to win. Like, don't be having Shaq shooting 3-pointers. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have some strategy too.
That's right. That's right.
There's always something you got to work on, but yeah, the fundamental is, like you said, Ted, you got to give yourself a shot, stay in the game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely,
for sure. And my around the horn, one of my favorite quotes is this one. It's hard to see the picture when you're stuck inside the frame. So a lot of times, you let's say you're dealing with a debt issue, a financial issue, and you just like, this is just hopeless. I don't have a way out. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just always going to be in debt. But it helps to have someone like Daniel, to point these types of opportunities out. There's all kinds. No matter what the problem is, there's always a solution. But a lot of times we're too close to that thing.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why it helps to have that outside perspective. somebody with a level of expertise that you may not have that can help you to really isolate what the real issue is and come up with solutions that you wouldn't have come up with. So I just think that that's so important. And there's a reason that, people that are successful, highly successful, they have coaches, they have mentors, they have people to point these things out, point these opportunities out. Because I'd be willing to bet there's probably 5 or 6 things that Daniel has said that people following us are hearing for the first time as it relates to how you can use your 401k. That is something that came to mind. And I certainly applaud you, Daniel, for bringing that to light. I'm sure we've helped quite a few people. So Daniel, I know you threw your link out earlier. Let's throw it out again. So how can people connect with you to get this wealth of information?
Yeah, best place, danielblue.me. It's blue, just like the color. I've got all my social media handles. So if you're on Instagram, I'm at Daniel Blue with 2 underscores. On Facebook, I'm very consistent on both of those platforms and trying to add value to people that do read my stuff. And then it's got links to my book, Blueprint to Your Best Retirement. It's got links to my course. It's got links to the podcast, How Winners Win. And then if you're listening to this right now and you have a 401k from an old job or an IRA, you're thinking, wait, what? He says I can access that money penalty and tax free. If that's you, you'll see a link to Quest Education on my website, and that will take you to my company. And there you can just fill out a brief form, and then someone from my team will reach out to you and see if we're a good fit and how we might be able to help you.
Great. And again, I mean, you can get his book, Blueprint to Your Best Retirement. You can check out his podcast, How Winners Win.
Man, I'm hating on that name. Like, why didn't we come up with we were supposed to have that name, Eric. How Winners Win. Like, don't come on there if you're thinking about losing. It's all about winning on that podcast.
Yeah, we've had some really good guests on that. We just interviewed Caleb Maddox. He made his first $1 million at 16 years old, and he's a stud. He's doing some big things right now. I think he's like 20. So we've been grateful enough to interview some awesome guests, and we want to get to where you guys are and crack that triple digit. So we chasing greatness over here.
Wow.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations to you on all your success, Daniel, and thank you for sharing what you shared today. See, we told you this is not your everyday podcast.
Love it.
Right. So make sure you go back and listen to this. Go to Apple Podcasts. You can subscribe. Make sure you listen and check it out. And don't forget to share the show.
That's what winners do. They share.
Share the show. Share the show. Don't forget to share the show.
I mean, when you see Ted lean in like that, I mean that's telling you something.
Yeah.
Let's put your ear right there, right? Because I'm about to say something, right? Share the show.
Right. You're about to say something profound there. Man, so don't forget to share the show. Again, this is not your everyday podcast. We appreciate you following us and watching us and listening to us. Thank you again to Daniel Blue for being our guest today. That is our time for this evening.
Eric, do you want to repeat our sponsor again for the day?
Yes, as a reminder, thanks, Ted, the Bernie L. Bates Foundation. They're our sponsor for the week. You can go to blbinc.org to actually register for that webinar that I mentioned earlier on Tuesday, September the 21st at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. blbinc.org, Bernie L. Bates Foundation. All right. It's been an awesome show, Ted.
Awesome, man. It's been awesome. It's been great. Thanks, Daniel Blue. Daniel Blue, is that your real last name?
It is, man. It definitely is. I can pull out my driver's license if I need to.
I believe you, man. That's just a cool last name, Daniel Blue. Come check out, what is it, How Winners Win. I mean, just
blueprint to your best retirement. I had to throw in the word blue.
Blueprint, man. I like what you're doing there, man.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate that.
All right. Well, cool. This concludes this week's episode of the 30-Minute Hour podcast. Until next time, have a great one.